All right, well, go time. Let me hit this pause button over here. For those who know, that is my intro music to the podcast. If you're a podcast listener, first of all, we're going to give some time for people to hop on here. For those who catch the replay on my YouTube channel, I am yours truly, Dr. Pierre, favorite board certified internist, host of many things, but more importantly, this week we are doing Real Physician Reacts. This is our live week series where I, as a physician, something across my social media feed comes across and I have to start talking about it. So, of course, once I saw this article, and mind you, I'm at the point now I don't even have to look for articles like this no more. People just start sending it to me immediately. If you follow me, you already know we have been talking about monkeypox ad nauseum for a while. It went down, more importantly because the news cycle went down, but even more important is the fact that we had less and less cases, vaccine was out, and this evening's discussion really isn't going to be about monkeypox per se, as far as education and everything else. But it is going to be, and I kind of harken back. The fact that obviously, unless you're under a rock, you know that our COVID-19 protections kind of went away, right? It's no longer considered a public health emergency here in this country. And I just want us to obviously continue to be diligent that even though the country, right, even though your state, your city, your health department, whatever, doesn't consider these things, news enough to, kind of broadcast it to the world or broadcast it to the point where people are talking about it. It's not like they 100% go away. And this case is definitely something that is important, right? We should know that, yes, monkeypox is still here. Monkeypox has not gone anywhere, despite the fact that our cameras don't look at it. And this case here kind of talks about monkeypox cases rising in the city of Chicago. I'll do a quick little summary for it just in case. But if you just Google monkeypox Chicago, it's going to be one of the first sites that pop up. It says the Illinois Department of Public Health on Thursday confirmed at least 24 monkeypox cases, with 2 additional cases probably on the way since March 24th. According to health officials, all cases were among symptomatic men, a majority of whom had received 2 doses of the vaccine. So that sentence alone is enough to have us to have a discussion. And I saw your question. I'm definitely going to get to that question as far as how to contract it, right? Because that's a big one. How do we contract this monkeypox? So here you have, for those, unless you slept on the rock, you know that there was at a point where monkeypox became the disease to talk about, even over COVID. And what happened, and one of the biggest reasons why, is this aspect here. Because we had a disease that if you got it, you can't just kind of walk around and act like you don't have it. You can't just be like, nah. You were going to have some symptoms that had visual representation. And when I had someone ask me, and I wish I remember the TikToker's name. She asked me, because we were talking about COVID at one point, and she said, wow, do you think if COVID had something that you can kind of see from a mile away, do you think more people would take it serious? And I said, maybe not, I don't know. Because at the time, I'm like, hey, you got this disease that we know spreads to a lot of people, has, killed millions of people, 1 million plus here in this country alone. And people are kind of blah about it. So I was like, I don't know, especially because I remember seeing people fighting not to wear a mask. So I remember, even though I said, hey, you got this deadly respiratory virus out here, deadly respiratory virus, highly infectious, it's out here, and people were like, no, take off the mask. So I was telling myself, nah, I think even if there was some type of, outer appearance of how you can look and say, oh yeah, this person definitely has COVID, people wouldn't care. And then monkeypox came around, and then the outbreak came around, and that totally changed my tune, because all of a sudden I had people banging, proverbially banging at, our doors, right? A lot of our health content creators' doors, asking about, for protection, asking about, treatment, asking about, is there vaccination, like just banging at our door, just because now the symptoms were so obvious and for a lot of people so painful that they wanted no parts of it. Now, of course, we had this groundswell. Now, mind you, monkeypox wasn't a new disease like COVID-19 was. It was a disease that was primarily in Western Africa. Western Africa, that was where it was primarily at. But because of, we're outside, y'all. So people traveling, people moving the way they're moving. Here you had a disease that were popping up in parts that don't normally pop up, especially here in the United States. So you had this disease that usually ain't normally here that causes, issues that look like this, that people were going wild for. People, again, like I said, they were banging. So I think some of my most watched videos are based off monkeypox. I would just answer your questions. Some of my most watched videos are based off monkeypox because that's how significant it was. And then, with treatment, with time, the cases started to die down. Now, mind you, just so we can have a quick number as far as cases are concerned. I just want to, just so we can have an idea of just how many cases there are here in this country. Let's see, monkeypox. I just want to give it a total number of cases. I don't want to tell you a wrong number. I'm going off the CDC's website. So total cases of monkeypox in this country was 30,401 with 42 total deaths here in this country with a total of 87,000 cases globally. So obviously compares in comparison to what COVID did, right? Because remember at that time, COVID was getting 100,000 people in 1 week. 100,000 people in 1 week were getting COVID. So definitely obviously dwarfs COVID numbers, but still something, obviously people were afraid because, again, the disease was there. But when it died down, which we expected to, right? Because it wasn't a necessary deadly disease. Because like I said, 30,000 people here in this country only, and I hate to say only, because, if you're one of the 42 or family members of one of the 42, that sucks. But yeah, the rate of death wasn't as significant as it was in COVID. So again, I think a lot of people were a lot of fanfare because of this disease that was symptomatic, because of the disease that you couldn't hide from. But eventually, like all diseases, the talk kind of goes down. And I talk about this a lot when I talk about how every month there is a disease that we focus on for the month, right? Like, for example, we know October is all about Breast Cancer Awareness Month. But when it's not October, you don't see people wearing pink. So it's not like breast cancer is like any better, like in the months outside of October. It's just that when you have your time to shine as a disease, we're going to put the spotlight on you. So of course the spotlight got off monkeypox, just like it did with COVID. And I think you have this typical lull of people thinking like, hey, if the whole world's not talking about it, I'm good, nothing to worry about. And here we go, pops up again. Kind of just a reminder that, hey, like we're still here and we're still have, an issue to deal with. And the fact that they said all cases are among symptomatic men, that's not something that was out of the ordinary. We know that from the origin of cases, the majority of cases were with men with either physical contact, sexual contact. That was the word majority. Now, not to say all, but we know physical contact is a significant route of transmission for this monkeypox. And we know that the group that it was initially found in, especially, from the beginning of the outbreak, were men who have sex with men. Like that was the primary group. But unfortunately, a lot of people heard that was the primary group and thought that was the only group that was affecting it. And of course, just like this country does, we were out to prove them wrong. And a lot of other different groups got it outside. So obviously women got it, children got it. So it wasn't just a men having sex with men, but it spread. So, and again, physical contact, sexual contact obviously is a big one, but again, not necessarily an issue of like, oh, if someone is in the room with you, kind of like COVID, you got to worry about it. So there's definitely some issues that had to be, obviously addressed, right? So we did a lot of education on monkeypox, on prevention, on what you could do, cannot do. right? Because of it, right? Because again, you have people worrying like, all right, can I go to the gym? Can I go to schools? What do I need to wipe down my clothes with? Like these are just lots of different questions that were coming about because monkeypox, again, had a lot of y'all. Again, I don't say y'all. When I say y'all, I'm being very general. But monkeypox had a lot of people afraid because they did not want this, right? They didn't, and again, this is a very binary picture, right? Like they didn't want that, right? Like they didn't want a physical disfiguration, itching, burning welts. Like they didn't want none of that popping up on their face, their back, their arms. They wanted no parts of that. So they are very diligent in trying to protect themselves from it. So again, I just don't want people to slack, right? I don't, just the same way, like I said, the camera's going off and the spotlight's going off on COVID. I don't want to, which we're even though I say I don't want to, I know we're going to. Again, when we see cases like this and when we see articles like this pop up, we shouldn't be surprised, right? We just have to make sure that we're diligent, right? So that's why you see a lot of our content creators be like, hey, yeah, I know the government's talking about something. We're not, there's no more public health emergency, but you still need to worry about COVID. You still need to worry about monkeypox. You still need to worry about the flu. Right, there are certain diseases that you still got to worry about, even when the cameras are not on. So let's get some questions. So let me see here, because I think I kind of answered that first question because someone asked, how do you contract it? Let's see. Just want to make sure I don't. Yeah. Someone asked, Vern. I don't know if Vern's still on here. Vern says, maybe ignorant, but how do you contract it? First of all, Vern, there is no ignorant questions, especially when it comes to health. I'm big on, for those, especially those who follow me, make sure you follow me, make sure you hit the like button. I'm big on just asking a question, trying to get your question asked, because a lot of times you can Google and the answer could seem right on Google, but it could be kind of off, right? So never feel afraid to ask questions, especially when when you're concerned about something, right? So how do you contact it? Again, the most typical route of transmission is physical contact. And it's usually, and it's not like, oh, I just brushed by me, right? It's usually pretty direct contact. Now, there has been instances where it's been transmitted via clothes because it can, rest on surfaces and clothes. So there has been that level. But I always say, especially with these types of diseases, there has to be some contact, not necessarily just skin to skin, but skin break to skin break, which is why sexual contact happens so much, right? Because obviously there's pores, there's mucuses that come into contact. So you have this instance where, like, yeah, if it, like, again, figuratively speaking, it lands on my skin, that's one thing. But if I have a cut on that skin, now it has a route of entry. So it's just a couple of things, again, not necessarily a respiratory disease like COVID, where I can just be talking, I can leave the room and then the spores get to, no, this is definitely, you have to do some physical contact to get it, which is why you typically see it happen in groups, right? Like a group of people have it, families will have it. Like that's where it typically happens. And we know that there's some cases that have jumped to the animals, right? So we've had some animals actually pick up monkeypox here in this country as well, too, or seem as a reservoir for it. This is a good question. So Kathy is asking, is it painful? So the answer, and this is regarding these pustules here. Yes, there is a stage where it hurts, where it burns, where it itches, and that was such a, again, I was shocked, y'all. Like, remember, I saw how a lot of people did during COVID and how they brushed off a respiratory disease like it wasn't nothing. Like I saw that. So I was like, oh, I don't, and the person just asked me, like, if you think if it's something that they could see from a mile away, would they care? And I was like, no, but I was shocked when I saw how many people, especially, again, I don't suggest you do it. But if you Google, monkeypox and this Google image, those are not nice looking pictures. So what you see is a lot of times people are very, very symptomatic from it, a lot of pain, a lot of discomfort, a lot of itching, a lot of burning, especially when it's kind of flaring up in this nature here. So yeah, pain is definitely an issue. This is a good question, right? As far as, and this is more of a contact issue, like hugs, like can can I brush by it? So again, it does have to be, again, you have to have that physical contact, 100%. Got to have the physical contact. But when we're talking about physical contact, then it's like, all right, it has to be able to be introduced into our system. Has to be, and usually it's mucosal related. So there has to be, again, mucosal, mouth, sex, anus. Like there has to be some type of, or, breaking the skin. There has to be some type of way for it to be introduced in our system, for it to kind of, wish-wash and do its thing. So that's how, like, yes, can you technically get it from a hug? Yeah, it's possible for sure. Right, especially you hug someone, you hug them real close, maybe a little kiss goodbye, a little spittle, something. It's possible, but definitely something that has to be kind of very intentional in that regards. Oh, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Says that thank you for all you do to help people. I appreciate it so much. Someone says wrap up. Can I borrow a dollar? Says wrap up in my business and you keep clean. Yeah, I mean that's just one of those things where again we all know that when it comes to our sexual health, not everyone's walking around here with protection, right? Like again, wrapping yourself up, but even if it's not necessarily 100% guaranteed that I'm wearing protection, she's got protection, or he's got protection, and we don't pass it along, right? But so because it's just a mucosal, like the mucosal's touching and mixing, and here we are. Let's see, we got any. Appreciate all the likes. Appreciate all the likes here. Let's see. Oh, so let me. Joan Jones says, I still wear my mask, but how Biden says the worst flu will come in 2025, but Africa did not have that. I'm not I didn't catch what Biden said about the flu coming in 25. And I always tell people, like, before COVID, I was the content creator that would always tell people to get the flu shot. So people thought I was crazy when I say get the flu shot, because before COVID, the flu was the boogeyman during the December, January, February, March timeframe, right? Like when patients were sick in the hospital, it was because of the flu. So I would always champion get the flu. I'm a big, like, if you search, do a Google search for Dr. Pierre and flu, you'll see a lot of my videos or blog posts come up because I always talk about that. But I'm not sure what he said about the flu in 2025, and I'm not sure why Africa would be an issue of concern. Well, let's see here. Let's see. So Rob says, this is a question from Rob said, who primarily gets monkeypox. So again, the community that we're seeing now is men who have sex with men. That has been the majority community, because that's where the outbreak originated from. And again, because it was men having sex with men, and it just kind of spread. But again, and even though I preface that saying, yes, they were the first significant community to have to deal with it. But like the United States does, we made sure that everyone was a part. So we had kids getting it, women getting it. So it was around. But so there's not necessarily a primary group that gets it, but it's a primary action that causes it, right? So unprotected sex, or sex where bodily fluids are mixing, that's one of the primary actions that causes the spread of monkeypox, which is why you'll have a spread just pop up in clusters, right? Because it's not like one person can get it and everyone's true. Like once that one person gets it, and then the other person gets it, and that person don't really know, because there is a time frame. Because it's not like, let's say if I got monkeypox today, it's not like I would know I have monkeypox today. So I may have sex next week, I may have sex the week after, then boom, all of a sudden the symptoms of monkeypox occur, but I didn't have sex with all of these people while I had monkeypox, right? So that's where the spread can kind of rise up on us. Someone says I'm going to rise, especially during Pride Month, right? So again, that's the question at hand, where you have this instance where, that because that's the predominant group that's be affected. Obviously, that's where the education comes in at. But I don't want those who, don't partake in having sex with men. I don't want people outside that group to think that it's everything's all good. I got nothing to worry about. Right? Like there was a time where when we were talking about COVID, people thought only old people got COVID. So the young folks didn't think they'd get COVID until a whole bunch of young folks started getting COVID. So I don't want us to be like, oh, I'm not a part of that group, I don't have to worry about it. And then, with, 6 degrees of separation, all of a sudden you have to worry about it. So I definitely don't want that to be the case there, for sure. Let's see. Oh, someone says it's a scare tactic. It's not a scare tactic. And this is what happens. A lot of people always think that when we like report what's kind of happening, that we're trying to scare people. No, we're not trying to scare you. We're just trying to say, hey, this is it. This is what's going down. Again, this is just a report that came just out of Chicago, right? So we're not even talking about the other states. There's not any reports elsewhere, but the summer's coming up, right? So this is something you definitely want to be weary of as we kind of move forward. Let's see here. I'll make sure you don't miss any questions. But that was a very good question. So someone asked about the vaccine, right? Because when the article says that a majority of people, and again, I'm not sure what a majority of people is. I don't know if it's 13. I don't know how many people, but it said majority of people got vaccinated. So we know that the vaccine that they have for the monkeypox, and I know for a fact I did a video on this. I know for a fact. In fact, if for those who, especially if you want more information on monkeypox, when this live is done, if you just go to my link in my bio, my website, and go to resources, I have an infographic on monkeypox to answer a lot of your questions as far as spread, treatment, what to worry about, signs and symptoms, answer all that right in there. It's I wish I could screenshot. I can't, but definitely answer all your questions for sure. It's a nice little infographic. It's free. Just put your email address, you get it sent to you. But yeah, let's see here. Oh, sorry, because I messed up. So monkeypox vaccine. And this is actually a very good question, right? And I'm going to piggyback off of it because someone asked, can anyone get the monkeypox vaccine now? So yeah, so reason why this is a good question is because there was a time, especially when monkeypox was hot, that not everyone was eligible to get the vaccine because they just didn't have the numbers, aka they didn't have the supply to give everyone in the world, right? The vaccine, they had to be very specific on which communities were affected, right? So you either had to be in part of that community dealing with high risk sex community, or you had to have personal contact with someone who may be constrained or affected, right? So I don't know what the supply chain looks like now, but I can assure you that it's probably not going to be very difficult for you to get that vaccine now because not a lot of people are checking for it. So I'm pretty sure, like, if you win and say, hey, can I get that vaccine now? Like, and it's a 2-dose vaccine. I'm pretty sure you're not going to run into a lot of restrictions unless they still kind of have that, oh, are you a part of this specific group, or have you had contact, or are you symptoms? Like, that's usually kind of the mode because they don't really have a significant supply. So they have to kind of constrict who can get it. But the vaccine, and this is a 2-dose vaccine with about an 87% effective rate, meaning that, 87% of cases are not going to have to develop the symptoms like this here, and pain, discomfort, rash, and everything else, 87% of the time. But again, they're still at 13%. There's still that 13%. Again, remember, in medicine, even though we wish it was, not everything is 100%. So you still got 13% of people 30% efficacy of those who population may get it, may develop the monkeypox, right? That's when we talk about the efficacy rate of said vaccine, right? So again, it's not 100%, right? It's not 100%, but it does give great protection, right? It does give some people a sense of like, oh, okay, all right. I like what I'm seeing here. So definitely something to kind of think about. Right, like especially if you're concerned that you may be in a high risk population, you may have come in contact with someone. Again, you may be in maybe in the city of Chicago, and that's something that you're really concerned about. Something to definitely think about. And mind you, again, this is just Chicago. This isn't, hopefully, right? I'm knocking on the wood for everyone out here, because especially those who follow me know I'm not the one who wants to drum up, discussion or fear to get everyone going crazy and, sharing videos and likes. That, no, like, I'm the one to try to educate you so you can kind of move how you want to move. Because I know a lot of people like to move. Like, I want y'all to move how y'all want to move. I just want y'all to do it in the safest route possible. So I want you guys to think about, like, hey, monkeypox is still here. Like, again, just like we're gonna be talking about the flu cases. Flu cases are still here. COVID is still here. So we want people to think that just because they turn the lights off on that disease, this is still something you need to think about. So that's really all we should really kind of get from an article like this, to say, hey, yeah, y'all know that disease that y'all are very, very scared about? Like, it's still around. So, like, don't think that we just kind of went away and there's nothing to do. Everything's kind of rosy dandy. It's still here. And don't play no games, for sure. Let's see. So Purple Queen asks, should we still be wearing masks? So now, if we're having this discussion on monkeypox and mask, because it's not a respiratory virus, right? So it's not a disease that's spread from the respiratory tract. Not really there, right? So now, if we're talking about COVID, we're talking about flu, right? I'm still, like, say, I wear my mask, especially in high risk areas, including because I work at a hospital, rehab center, and long-term care center, right? So even though I'm in Palm Beach County, South Florida, so a lot of our places don't even require us to wear no mask no more. I don't leave my car without the mask. Like, I don't leave my car and walk into a place knowing that there's folks in there who have high risk of having COVID, either asymptomatic, or patients who I'm actually actively treating, because I'm still treating patients with COVID. Obviously, it's not as much as the heights, but I'm still treating patients with COVID, and I just have a different view of it, because not only do I work in the acute care setting, so that's the first place you go if you get really sick, you go in the hospital, they get hospital acute care, but I work in the long-term care setting. So there's a lot of patients who are so sick, and then they get a little bit better, but they're not good enough to just go home or go to a rehab center. So then they got to go to a secondary hospital. So I take care of a lot of post-COVID patients in the secondary hospital who either have been on a vent for a long time, who have feeding tubes, who have wounds, right? So I still get a very conscious and current picture of what COVID can do, despite, the absence of it on my TV screen or on the blog post, or despite that absence, I still get a nice current picture, like, oh, okay, yeah. COVID ain't playing around here. So I'm pretty sure the people in Chicago, when these cases started popping up, they're like, hold on, what is this? Like, because for especially those in the United States, this is a disease we were not used to. Like, we're not used to dealing with monkeypox. Why? Because people typically got vaccinated, and smallpox vaccine. If you got vaccinated, you didn't have monkeypox. Like, that just didn't occur. So typically we saw this in patients who were not vaccinated. But of course, like everything occurs, right? Evolution occurs. Things start popping up. Now you have people who are not vaccinated. Boom, monkeypox is here. So it was just this disease that, like, oh yeah, we got to stop playing around. And as a clinician, we actually now had to start being diligent. Like, okay, all right, well, your signs and symptoms, you know what? This might be monkeypox, right? That was a differential. When I was in school, I wasn't even thinking about a differential of monkeypox. Why? Because, like, I'm here in the United States. Why would I be thinking about monkeypox? Monkeypox only happens outside this country until now. And, when you have time frames like this, where you're going to have ebbs and flows, you're going to have these ebbs and flows of, like, oh, another outbreak, and we just have to be able to kind of operate accordingly from that standpoint. Oh, it's a good question. So, Dina says, my daughter and grandkids live in Chicago. What should I tell her? The kids are 2 and 4. So for the kids, right? So the kids, in regards to, like, the concern for monkeypox. So right now, the majority of cases are kind of happening within this specific group, right? So unless there's some concern that you may be around someone who has active infection, and by active infection, this is when it's active. Unless there's concern that you have active infection, it's not something that I'd be uprooting my life and going in, and, like, that's not the case. That's not that for now. But it is just good to be very diligent on, when we're out and about, when we're looking, when we're saying, like, hey, is that, again, I don't want y'all to go out here trying to diagnose people with monkeypox just by looking, right? Because you can't do that. There's symptoms and everything. Like, I don't want y'all doing that. But it is something where we just have to be just keep an eye on it, right? So again, as long as the concern is, as long as there's no concern of having any direct contact with people who may be in contact, right? Who may be at high risk for it. There's no lifestyle changes that I would employ, right? Like I wouldn't be saying like, oh yeah, you definitely not that case. Even if you live in Chicago, from that standpoint there. Someone said, there's Missy G says monkeypox is rising again. Seriously, so glad I came home. Yeah, again, and again, the rise, right? Even the term rise is just relative, right? Because again, you had this pretty dead period. It was a dead period where, like, to the point now on the CDC updates their cases every 2 weeks now. This used to be something that every week they would update, but so few cases were coming about that they said, all right, we're going to stretch it out to every 2 weeks, just to give you an idea, right? So we were doing a good job maintaining, holding down, keeping our fort and protection down. Again, monkeypox. I don't know if anyone goes to the gym, but at the gym, they spray down everything now. Like I would love to ask like a gym owner, like how much money they go through on disinfectant since COVID and especially not necessarily COVID, but definitely since monkeypox. Like since monkeypox, everyone sprays everything now. Like that's their one thing. Like I'm spraying this all. Like I'm spraying it before, I'm spraying it after. Like that, they be going through bottles of disinfectant now in the gym. That's too funny. So Emma has this. Emma says they just told us we didn't have to wear a mask anymore at my job on Monday. And I was and this is I don't want to start again. Yeah, no, that's always the tough thing, right? Because you're gonna have more and more businesses, all right, as the cases, especially for COVID, we're talking about COVID now, continue to go down. As the incidence continues to, and again, it's weird because obviously we're not reporting the total number of cases we have now because, especially you live in Florida, they don't even shoot those numbers out to you no more. So it's just weird to be like I want to return to, the norm, right? I want to be able to, not have to wear my mask anymore if I don't have to, but I want to be diligent, right? So if you're in these instances where, you're in a job where like no one's wearing masks anymore, like I always say like, all right, first of all, you got to look out for yourself. You have to see, all right, what are my risk factors? Am I at a high risk for picking up, COVID if one of them have it and they don't tell us, or it's asymptomatic? And more importantly, do I have family members do I have to worry about who may not be able to put up the fight that I can put up? Because a lot of times we can put up a fight, but it's grandma who can't put up the fight. It's our little one who can't put up a fight, right? So, did I get vaccinated? Did I get boosted? Did I do all these things there to really try to protect myself? So those are all questions you just kind of have to kind of answer for yourself. Especially as we just kind of continue to move forward. People are just like, yep, the mask is gone. I'm throwing away. I'm throwing away the wipes. All that's in the trash. Yeah. Quan said I was just talking about I haven't heard about this in a while. Yeah. No, this and unfortunately this is how medicine go. Medicine be like because we have to go through. There's so many things to talk about. We just be looking for a reason not to talk about something. Like we be looking for a reason not to talk. Like, all right, we got that. Boom, nothing to see here, nothing to do here. We're gonna keep that moving from that standpoint. This is a very good question. So David says, if I got vaccinated last summer, do I need to get another vaccination? So we're not at least at this point recommending people get like yearly because that's like a year, like or a booster, right? Like nothing with this case or just what's happening has said, hey, you need to get a booster dose of the monkeypox. Like no evidence we have now says that. Now, of course, if something changes, I'll post about it. But right now, nothing is saying that like based off what we know, you have to go get another booster like COVID. Obviously, remember, COVID is definitely different. COVID replicates more. COVID has more mutations. This is not that with monkeypox. And because of all of the variants in COVID, that's why they typically talk about like, oh, you need a new booster, because the booster is trying to protect against the new variant. That's not the case here with monkeypox. And I had answered the question about can anyone get the monkeypox vaccine. So again, what the more restrictive places and states have done was that if you were in a high-risk group with concern for getting monkeypox, or you came in contact with a person who had monkeypox, then you could get it. But there are certain states that are more stringent or more lax than others. So it really just depends on the state, more importantly. So someone said, how are kids getting it? So question. So if you think about this, so if you're, let's say you're a family member, right? Your family member has it, right? Because monkeypox, it not only does it spread by contact, but there is been cases where it's kind of been like living on, surfaces, right? So now, right, and this is where I talk about the whole aspect of, again, the skin to skin is not the thing. It's that monkeypox virus to a mucosal area. So let's say I have this rash here, all on my back, right? And then I go to sit in my chair, right? Or I go sit on the table for some reason, right? And the monkeypox virus is on the chair. And now the kid, right, puts their mouth on the chair, right? So you can kind of see, especially if you got kids, you can kind of see the steps of how a kid could get that. Especially kind of introduced via the mucosal area. So that's how that's been kind of the route for kind of spread for everyone, right? But like I was just kind of giving you a good picture of just how, like, if you're a kid, like how a kid could get that from that standpoint. I'm seeing people talk about right on the time for election. That's hilarious. Let's see. This is a non-monkeypox question, but we can answer it. Does strep throat need to be treated with antibiotics, or will it go on its own? So strep throat is typically caused by a virus. So because it's typically caused by a virus, you typically don't need antibiotics. But I can tell you, as an former outpatient doctor, patients don't want to hear that, this will go away. I can take some hot water rinses and gargle some salt water, and they don't want to hear that. They want the antibiotics, because in their mind they're trained to believe that the antibiotics are going to be treated. So we've seen where, like, if I don't give you antibiotics and I give you antibiotics, the treatment recovery is about the same. But it's very difficult to tell a patient, you're not getting antibiotics. Very difficult for that. But they can, right? Because again, a majority of it is caused by, virus, but there's some bacteria that also will cause it as well too, right? So, and especially when we think about strep, because strep is specific for a bacterial bug, right? But pharyngitis is what typically occurs for a lot of people, right? And which is just, again, inflammation, swelling, and everything else. And that's where you see, because it's pharyngitis, people are like, oh, I got strep throat. Like that's just like right now, if I say I'm going to do a web search, no, I'm going to do my Googling, right? So a lot of people have just incorporated any testing of a sore throat being, this is strep throat. Like, so that's where it's typically difficult. But like we actually do swabs for strep, and if you're strep positive, then we shoot you some antibiotics. But the majority of the time, pharyngitis is usually due to viral infection in nature. Let's see here. Oh, this is very good. So Crazy says, I have cancer, no immune system, have worn my mask since the pandemic, I haven't caught anything. And honestly, I thank you, Crazy, for letting us know that, because I think a lot of times, especially when we talk about these diseases, the flu, monkeypox, COVID, or whatever disease we're talking about, there is a significant, I don't want to say significant, but there's a population in this country that just can't get no vaccine. Like, they're not getting the vaccine. Not happening. They don't have the immune system to get the vaccine. So all they have is not only the protection for themselves, aka wearing a mask, N95, cloth mask, whatever they're wearing, but the hope that their support for those around them will protect them as well. So that's why I've always been a champion of, hey, wear your mask, get vaccinated, everything else. Not necessarily because I think like I'm going to be so susceptible to getting COVID or so susceptible to getting flu. I don't want it, right? But it's because I know that even if I do get it, then yes, I'm boosted. Yes, it helps. Yes, it helps decrease the severity. But there's someone who I may come into contact with, especially because obviously the field I'm in, I take care of a lot of sick patients, right? So imagine me, a physician, with this active COVID infection, and I'm taking it around to all of my elderly patients that I got to take care of, right? And now grandma, right? Your grandma just got COVID from the doctor, right? Like your grandpa got COVID from the doctor, and they can't fight it like I can fight it. Like I can, okay, I'm good. They're ended up in a hospital, right? Or especially if I'm taking care of rehab, then I got to send them back to the hospital, right? So I'm always thinking about those who can't protect themselves via vaccine and boosting, and especially when we talk about discussions of mask wearing and everything else from that standpoint there. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Got a little trooper out there to make them just get this guy to block. That way we do not have to worry about that. Someone says, someone mentioned Rand Paul, and that, no. Q is a good home testing resolution, around $70 a test now. So this is just a discussion about I guess a different testing for COVID from that standpoint there. Let's see, make sure we don't miss any questions before I get up out of here. Lots of good discussion today, y'all. Lots of good discussion. Like I said, I know a lot of people I forgot about monkeypox. And is Lala Palooza going to be safe? Right. So safe is going to be relative, right? So safe is going to be, what are you doing to make sure you're protecting yourself? What are you doing to, make sure you're protecting, again, because you have to almost operate. This is how I tell my patients. I said, I have to operate like everyone has the disease that I'm trying to protect myself from. So if I operate like everyone has disease I'm trying to protect myself from, then the best job I can do is protect myself. And hopefully that will help protect me from others. So, Lollapalooza, there's going to be some concern, right? Because, obviously there's going to be a lot of, close contact. There's going to be a lot of, sexual activity. There's going to be a lot of risk out there that you have to be worried about. But, just, again, be safe, protect yourself, understand that there's, we got plenty of things to worry about. COVID, flu, monkeypox, it's kind of all in the set. All right. Let's see here. Yeah, and I do not have a name. I like that's a funny name. Let's not fearmonger. It's real, but yes, it will be largely safe, right? So yeah, I think especially if if those who follow me, know, right? Like that's what I'm big on, right? Like I'm big on trying to educate the community so they don't live in a state of fear where they feel like they can't do anything with their life. I don't want y'all to do that, right? Like, cause it's not viable, right? It's just not viable to live in this cocoon and act like, we're also not going to be ignorant and act like these diseases aren't here either, right? So you can't have both sides of the spectrum. You can't be like, all right, yeah, we're not gonna, fearmonger. We're not gonna be worried about. We're not gonna be super scared of disease, but we will respect the disease. If you don't get nothing from me, you're going to respect COVID. You're going to respect monkeypox. You're going to respect the flu. You're going to respect hypertension. You're going to respect high cholesterol. You're going to respect all the diseases. You may not be super scared of them, but you're going to at least respect them. You're going to know that there's some risk factors to be had if you play with them. Like if you play with them and act like they're not that, there's some issues to be had, right? So, but yeah, I'll definitely end my note there. Let's not be afraid, right? Again, I want, especially because once I saw this pop up, I already know how it typically runs, especially here on social media. So I don't want y'all to be like, oh my God, monkeypox is back. Let's pump our brakes. It's back in Chicago. We haven't seen if it's back elsewhere yet. We'll be keeping an eye on it. I'll be keeping an eye. Like I said, I'm gonna be looking at the cases. I'll be keeping an eye on it. So it's not back everywhere. But if you're in the state of Illinois, right, state of Chicago, there's a risk. The numbers are climbing out there, so just something to be wary of. So again, I'm yours truly, Dr. Barry. If you missed this live, I do repost this on my YouTube page tomorrow. Right, link is in the bio. Right, so tomorrow morning it'll be on my YouTube page. If you're a podcast listener, it'll be on my podcast. Right, and I suggest, especially if you have any questions on monkeypox or just monkeypox in general, if you go to link in my bio, I think my last blog post was on monkeypox, and I have a free infographic source on there as well too. So website's drbarrypierre.com, all one word. Get there. It's like under resources, you'll see it. But if you go to the blog, I have a long discussion on just monkeypox and all that good stuff. So y'all be blessed. Y'all have a great evening. I'm gonna see you guys tomorrow.